What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the You're Still Here podcast. Now, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, I completely understand there's a new plethora of people here who are expecting hockey videos and NFL videos, and those are coming. That is now primarily on my YouTube channel, along with something that's been there the entire time, and that is this podcast, which I call a potpourri podcast. You get a little bit of everything. There might be some sports talk, but you know, there are a lot of people out there who see things on a daily basis, they hear things on a daily basis, and they go, you know, I just wish somebody thought of that thing that I just thought, and I have no one to share with, and that person is me. I'm talking about those things that many times you're thinking about, but you can't really put words to. And that's where we are right now. The Lingerer's Paradise, that's what I've called it in the past. The Lingerer's Paradise, the week between Christmas and New Year's. What do you call it? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? What options do you even have? People aren't going out. Are you home? What are you doing? You returning those gifts? Is that the only potential thing you can be doing? It is a really weird time of year, and I thought there is no better time to get an episode of the original podcast than this week when you guys need it the most, because so many other shows, they're not doing any shows this week. Why? Because they're lingering just like the rest of you. Hopefully, Mr. 𝙗𝙤𝙩𝙛 treated you guys well over the holidays. I was saying Merry Sniffmas. I received a gift from one of my favorite people. She gave me this little nose, which has a little magnet on the back, and now you can see attached to the microphone, another great addition. This is you get a little new thing every single week. You build and you build and you build and you build. But how did 𝙗𝙗𝙗 treat you? Did he treat you all right? You want to know something that I used to do? Not just with Kris Kringle, but with many other people out there, many other names that were in my life as a child. And this was pre, iPhones and things like that. I would look up names that were relevant in any way, shape, or form to me growing up. I would go to the white pages and search for Freddy Krueger. Now, this is not like the actual hard white page. There still was whitepages.com, but this is pre-cell phone stuff like that. So you would go to whitepages.com and look it up. I would look up Zach Morris, Freddy Krueger, and then I would actually call them. Yeah, I was a prank caller back when that was it. Wait, when you grow up with the Jerky Boys, what do you expect? But I would call people. I would call Zach Morris, and I would say, hey, Preppy, do you want to meet me at the Max later? And the person would have absolutely no clue. I don't know why I did it. It wasn't really that funny or enjoyable, but I still found a need to do it. I called Freddy Krueger, so you'd look up Fred Krueger, and I would challenge him as Jason Voorhees to some sort of fight to the death. And many times people are, what? Excuse me, who are you? I'm going to call the police. This is when you thought *67 would kind of get, yeah, Fred, I'm sorry, sir, but Krueger is Euger. Fred Krueger the first. And if you're listening to this on one of the audio platforms, we are searching Fred Krueger. So we have a Fred A. Krueger. Oh, is that a Krieger? You see, now, I think maybe they've blacklisted the name. How about this? Give me a Zach Moore. Actually, no, let's go to Kris Kringle. Let's go for Christopher Kringle. You might have to go for Chris. So right now, we are searching for Christopher Kringle in white pages, and let's see what's going to come up. Should I give him a call? There he is. Nope. Alan L. Kringle. Any relations to Christopher? There obviously are a bunch of Kringles out there. There he is, Christopher H. Kringle, but at least it's not with a K. It's Kringle with a C. You know I refuse to believe that there are no Christopher Kringles out there. I think maybe they're on to my plan of searching up such popular names. But the real funny thing is if you're one of Christopher Kringle, if there's a Kringle out there, I want to know how sick that person is who names the kid Chris, because you can go with all sorts of names. Oh, that's Carmen Kringle. Where in the world is Carmen Kringle? Up in the North Pole. Where do you expect there'd be? So this is something that I used to do as a kid, as a teenager. This is as the internet, the birth of the internet was kind of before it took its full shape, the ruckus that we see now on the internet, in its infancy stages, we used to do things like this. We looked up our art teacher a real prickly art teacher we had in high school. And one of my friends may or may have not left a message on her answering machine saying F art and then hung up. I'm not saying we were the best people in the world, but it was a different time. Different time. You were looking up your teachers on white pages. And this was before you had the ability to remove yourself from white pages. You know, this is when you were just forced to be on there. And to my art teacher, who probably is dead if I had to vote right now. I mean, if they released odds on her death, and we know they release odds on crazy things. Did you guys see? And if there are any sniffers here, people who watch me from the sports betting videos, you may have heard about this. But there's actual odds for Jeffrey Epstein's list. Who's going to be on the list? And I think BetOnline released odds, and you can legitimately bet on it. And there's line movement on Clinton's and Elon Musk and all these people. And that reminds me of there are some off-site. Oh, there it is. The Epstein list, the same plain parlay odds for Epstein. I think if you click that picture, maybe right-click, open a new tab, that will allow you to maybe. Oh, there you go. That's not bad. So what do we got? We got Clinton at plus 300. We got Trump Jr. Is that senior? Trump Senior coming in. I like how they had to specify plus 300. Giuliani plus 300. Gavin Newsom plus 1,000. So they do allow same game part. Oh, any congressman. That's got to be a surefire hit. That's got to be one of those lifelong appointees, the people who just keep going in term after term after term. One of them's definitely got to be on there. I remember before this came out, there were a couple of sites, I swear to God, we looked this up one time in my office. They offer things like who's going to die first, Artie Lang or Bob Barker. And this was like 6 years ago. And obviously what you're betting on is the feeble old age of Bob Barker versus the drug use, habitual, extensive drug use of Artie Lang and Bob Barker. When I forgot what the odds were on that, but there are sites that do that. It's like, you know, how around the Super Bowl time, you see all the odds. Oh, what color's the Gatorade? Who's going to be? How many times was Bon Jovi shown? I went way over on the Bon Jovi. I swear it was 1.5. They put the line on Bon Jovi at 1.5. I hammered the over because the Patriots were in the Super Bowl and he sits next to Robert Kraft. So if Robert Kraft is being shown, that's really the question. How often are they showing Robert Kraft? And I'll never forget this. The funny thing was there was one sports book who didn't pay it out, and they said it was under 1.5. But all the other ones, they paid out the 1.5 because one of the shots had 70% of Bon Jovi. And that is Bon Jovi. But one sports book tried to just throw it out there. No, but it's not a full. You didn't specify. Partial Jovi equals Jovi. If I can tell, hey, that's Bon Jovi. I don't care if his left shoulder is off screen. If you know that that's Bon Jovi, they're showing Bon Jovi. Quarter Jovi, half Jovi, all Jovi. They ended up paying it out. And that was one of the good bets. Before everything was legal in New York, theoretically, you had to go to the offshore accounts to do it. I would never do such a thing. That's a crazy thing. Who would do something like that? But if you wanted to, you had to bet on the offshore sites, and the offshore sites very frequently offered some quite ridiculous things, and that was one of them. So we are here right now in between Christmas, New Year's. Do you guys need me to do the refresher course on all the scam things that occur on New Year? Actually, before we get to New Year's, because we still are in this lingerer's paradise between Christmas and New Year's, I think it's a great time to hit you with my scam of the week.
It's a scam.
That's a scam.
What a scam that was.
So this was all a scam, huh?
This week's scam of the week is the November 30th haircut. Yes, that's right, the November 30th haircut. Wait, why are you getting a haircut on November 30th? Because it's the last day that officially still gets lumped in with fall and is definitely not part of the holiday season, because as soon as that calendar strikes December, Where are we right now? We're in holiday season. When you go out during holiday season, what do you got to, everything gets bumped up by 40%. Your tips got to be 200%. Everything. Straight through New Year. Straight through New Year, and dare I say, up until the middle of January. So how do you beat all this? You get the haircut on November 30th. Typical guy haircuts are 6 weeks in between. And if you look at my hair, go scroll back on my videos, the NHL, NFL. This is the classic, almost 1 month deep. This is 3 to 4 weeks in, and I'm good for another few weeks. When is my next haircut gonna be? Oh yeah, like January 18th. Are you getting holiday tips on January 18th? You're well into the following year. I will put in the caveat, don't be a scumbag for the most part. If people treat you well, you tip them well, but tip them well on April 3rd, and you tip them well. But if you're just going to a random guy one time, like, oh, I'm just, visiting mine, I gotta get a haircut. No, you go on the 30th. You don't give some guy that expected tip. And I wonder if these places have signs and things up to let you know you should be tipping more. Like gracias, season's greetings. Oh, always better to give during the holiday season. Always better to give an extra 15% during the holiday season. So they want those extra tips. They can get them. It's just probably not going to be for me unless it's somebody I go to all the time who actually deserves it. In that case, they'll be getting tipped well the entire time. It's the November 30th. Avoid tipping extra and the hectic holiday schedule at your local salon or barbershop. That's as good a scam of the week as I can remember, and it's nothing crazy. It's not a complex scam like how to talk to a girl at the gym by strategically putting yourself in an exercise by the door. So that's a 5-pronged scam. This is a simple scam. Get that haircut November 30th. You're lumped in with the fall and Thanksgiving, and they won't see you again to the middle of January. Fantastic scam. But here in this Lingers week, semi-week, you want to know what I've been doing? I've actually been running the hurry up offense on my doctor's appointments, because my doctor's appointments, I always try to we're going to space them out, right? We're going to do one earlier in the year. Then maybe we'll do one in the middle. Then we'll go to the dentist. And what happens? I do none of them. I cancel anything that I would have done. And I just try to shove them towards the end of the year, because I believe all your doctors and dentist appointments should all be in the middle of winter when you're less likely to do things. When are you just holed up? Unless you live in one of the nice weather areas. I know that some of you, unless you're somehow in, the South America right now watching this during the opposite season. I get it. There are nice places, but for a great majority of the U.S. and any of my Canadian listeners, winter's the time to go take care of things like doctor's appointments. Most people I know, they go, I feel all right. I'm not going to the doctor regardless. But I made a promise, that I promised my mom that I'm going to, because, you have to look out for the familial things. Last year, got the heart checked. That was okay. This year, the big one, as a guy who never wore glasses, I haven't had an eye test since I was 16 years old, I don't think. But I went to the eye doctor. My great-grandma had glaucoma, and you got to stay on top of these things. So I went there. I got checked for glaucoma. Now, they asked me when the last time I was there. I was like, I don't know, when I took my first road test. They're like, and I swear to you, by the way, when I go to the doctor, I'm not just like, hello, I'm professional Andy, and thank you for I'm still me. I call the letters on the eye test. Oh, that's a scam letter. I go, that's a scam E. You think I don't know the font? I go, I do. I'm a graphic designer. I know all the different fonts. You strategically have the fonts that intentionally make the E's look like C's because of the extra curl up, and you're hoping people mess it. This is a scam Times New Roman bolded font. And I'm saying this as I'm reading the eye test, and I swear to you, and if you think I'm not lying, when we're all dead and you get to see, was Andy lying about this? Was Andy lying about that? I was not lying. This is the classic one. This is the classic eye chart, the one from your childhood. But the one that they throw on you now, there were more curvatures. I'll know if I see it. Yeah, they want you to think this is it. This ain't it. This ain't the one I was on. Because now, by the way, you don't stand across the room and look at the letters on the wall. That was I think they knew too many people were getting away with that. Now, they you look off of a mirror so they're showing you these letters, which is being bounced off a mirror, and you're looking at the mirror. I guess that has some increased, I don't know, efficiency or something, figuring it out that way. But I'm insulting the fonts as I'm reading the letters. And when I was almost going to be tricked by one, I actually would talk my way out of it. Like, oh, that's the classic CE combo that you're trying to get me to confuse. So I used that to claim like I knew which one it was, and then I would just go to the next one and she wouldn't stop me. So I scammed my way to 20/20 vision. But then they go, okay, but now we're going to take some actual scans of your eye. We're going to put you on some of these machines, and they put some liquid in my eye. And I swear to you, I felt like Arya Stark in Game of Thrones when Jack and Hagar gave her that potion and she lost her vision and she was blind for weeks. That was me. That was me right there trying to walk into the next room. Couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I was blinded. And for a guy who's never dealt with anything like this, 20/20 my whole life, and now I'm Arya Stark, you could imagine that I was starting to get freaked out. If you looked at your phone, you just saw blur. And that got me to thinking, what the hell did people do in the 1600s when they had bad vision? Were they looked at like freaks? Or was it looked at like, kind of like if you and 10 people went to the gym, you know, somebody lifts 250 pounds, somebody lifts 200 pounds. Was that what it was considered for vision? Like, oh, that person can see all the way down the block. That person can see halfway down the block. Did they just look at it like something like that? Because if you can't see, I guess maybe it was because of the contrast, because I compared that. You have a whole life of vision, and you take that away, 20/20, and then they put these drops in your eyes and you can't see it. It's a freaky thing to go through. And I got to tell you, I went home and it still wasn't bad. And I'm convinced that when you go to an eye doctor for the first time, those droplets that they give you to test you for something, it takes away 2% of your vision. You're 2% worse after getting that. And now they hooked me for life. 20/20 my whole life. They put these Arya Stark drops in my eyes. I can't see anything. Oh, no, it will clear up in a week. Clear up in a week. I promise you. Yeah, it cleared up, but it's 3% worse. And now the eye doctors got me for life. Went my whole life, didn't need an eye doctor. They gave me these drops. I lost 3% of my vision already. Oh, I go back a second time. There goes another 9%. If you guys got eye problems, you should get them taken care of. All I'm saying is if you don't, maybe be a little bit skeptical about what may or may not happen when you introduce foreign substances into your eyes. But you know about that, ladies. So just a quick reminder to anybody out there around New Year's Eve time, just a scam refresher. Of course, don't go out on New Year's Eve. What do you think? You're going to go out on New Year's Eve with the rest of them? What do you get? Oh, you got to buy tickets. Oh, you got to buy tickets and get that top shelf open bar. Right now, they take the Georgie from the bottom shelf, put it on the top shelf, and kick you out at 12:45. Place was open till 4 a.m. the night before, December 29th to 30th. Oh, yeah, come to 4 a.m., drink. You get 2 for $5. New Year's Eve, you're kicked out 12:45. Where are you kicked out to? The middle of the winter on the street. You in Montreal right now? You're just standing there in your little dress, 2 degrees. Yeah, but don't worry. I'm going to call an Uber. They'll take me home, right? Those rates won't be high. You're not going to be getting 20x on your Uber on New Year's Eve, right? It's an all-time scam holiday. If you're young and you want to have a good time, the best thing you can do is go to a party where there are some people there you don't know. And trust me, this has been tested. I've tried a whole bunch of things. You can't go anywhere unless it's some sort of private event. That's what you got to do on New Year's Eve. All right? Also, if you're waiting till January 1st to start a New Year's resolution, you've already failed that New Year's resolution. Yes, because think about what you're doing. All right, you want to do something? Oh no, I'm going to learn how to paint, and I'm going to start on January 1st. Your first action was delaying the thing that you claim that you want to do. Anything that you want to do, you're going to do it. There's not going to be, oh no, but January 1st. And the classic one is getting in shape. No, I'm going to get in shape after January 1st. Nothing's going to happen. So what do? You go out on New Year's Eve, you're drinking, you probably get some pizza, you have some hungover bagels the next day, And now what? That's January 1st. You've already indulged on January 1st. So what do? You say, no, it's going to be the first. Oh, yeah. The great New Year's resolution that starts the first Monday after New Year's. You want to know what the success rate of that is? Basically a guy's on Tinder. It's failure all the time. My guy likes to fail all the time, fail all the time, fail all the time. And then also, every gym that you go to, you're going to be angry for the first 2 weeks. And then by January 21st, it's going to be completely empty. The only difference between me is I used to be a part who used to get mad at them. And now I'm way more likely to be the person who goes for 3 weeks and leaves. But that's what happens as time goes on, you know? So, going into this new year, by the way, I don't, I have no New Year's resolutions. None. Zero. My resolutions come and they go. All right? I got a June resolutions. I got a quarter. I got all sorts of resolutions out there. But one thing that I think I should focus some time to, and that is an invention. I thought of another invention that I'm going to put out there, say it's going to change the world, it's going to kill it on Shark Tank, and then I'm going to do a grand total of 0 things to forward this invention. And that is, it's called, I don't have a great name for it yet, but toothpaste mouth. You ever brushed your teeth and then for whatever reason, somebody brought you some food was available, and now you want to eat. And what do? You got that post-toothpaste mouth, which takes a good 45 minutes. It's unbelievable how long it takes to clear the toothpaste mouth. So what I'm suggesting is a palate cleanser thing. A quick gurgle, the same way mouthwash gurgles, and it gives you a fresh breath. I want a palate cleanser version of that where I can brush my teeth, swirl this stuff around, have myself some nice chicken parm, and then I could fully taste it, because there's no more wasted meal than a post-toothpaste chicken parm and anything else like that. Speaking of which, you see this Tommy Cutlets guy? This Tommy DeVito on the New York Giants. I'm sure you heard about him. I heard you seen him. I bet you've seen the commercials, especially if you're in the tri-state area. I do have news for you. If you sent both of our blood to a DNA lab, mine's coming out with more cutlets. I've absolutely, that guy you see right there, got no problems with the individual other than the fact that you can't just be taking a nickname cutlets like when someone like me is around. I hate sushi. I hate seafood. I got cutlets and cannoli cream coming out my pores, and it's been like that since I was a kid. But I don't want the name Andy Cutlets. But I just, I resent somebody who comes out and takes such a quality nickname. But, kudos to him. I hope he enjoyed the old Jeremy Lin run that he got, because we'll see. Any team that has Daniel Jones signed to a 4-year deal, he may find himself starting once again. What else can I tell you guys on this Lingerers Week? Number one, I've been enjoying World War II documentaries lately. That's been the new thing, because, I watched one a couple months back. To me, what's unbelievably fascinating is now you're getting these World War II documentaries reconverted and upscaled so that these things are in HD, 1080p. You're watching Stalin in 4K, which really is something. It gives a different feel to it, because when you used to watch these things in grainy black and white, it seems like Fred Flintstone's going to be coming out there. But all of a sudden, when you see it and it doesn't look that absurd, doesn't look that old, it really is kind of it's just crazy that World War II was a mere less than 100 years. And the reason that's crazy, because I want you to think about the lives those guys were living on a day-to-day basis as you're watching my videos about same-game parlay sniffs and things of that nature. Under 100 years ago, you were a guy on a boat who had to go across to Normandy and try to reclaim mainland Europe as other people were shooting at you getting onto that beach. What a wild thing. Like I was saying, if aliens dropped down and they were shown World War II, and they were shown what our idiotic fat asses are doing now, do you know what they would say? Like, oh, that's got to be a good, 24 generations between that? 100 years. People are alive from that. And to me, it's what, and you're saying, come on, it's not, no, it is crazy. When you look at what we're doing on a day-to-day basis now, if you look how you're watching this on something called YouTube, as they were getting radio signals, radio broadcasts, people didn't have TVs, anything. The contrast is crazy. And these documentaries, I know Netflix had the most recent one. You know what's something that I found fascinating? I imagine that some of you guys are relatively informed with World War II, but from what they teach nowadays, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in younger people being generally informed about things, because the lack of, like, if you were to ask a Gen Z kid, I swear to you, and somebody in the comments is going to say, no, they know. No, they don't know. Do it on the street and then make them point. Say, hey, can you point to Germany on a map? Show them Europe, say, point to Germany. Say, point to the Netherlands. Point to France. Non-stupid people I know who aren't stupid, can't do basic things like that. So I'm not surprised if they just learned nothing about World War II. But what was fascinating to me, you know, something new trickles in every time you learn about it. And it was when the Germans felt the walls crumbling in and they knew it was going to go down, when those allies were coming from both sides, that Germans were trying to get over to the Western Front and surrender to the Americans, because they knew if they were a prisoner of war under the Russians, they were going to the Siberian gulags. So they were sprinting, and they were talking about how the Americans had just hundreds and thousands of Germans showing up to surrender to them to avoid that Eastern Siberian fate. And I honestly can't blame them. I think they had to go to the U.S. for a year or something like that, and then they just went home. How do you think the prisoners of war taken by the Soviets fared, as the Soviets lost an absurd amount of their population? Another crazy thing to look at. Go ahead and Google casualties by country via World War II, and you'll know who paid the big price during that. So that's something, it's a great rabbit hole. Some rabbit holes are just going to take you nowhere, and you've learned a grand total of nothing, and it's not going to better your what. But that the World War II rabbit hole, the further you go down it, the more you appreciate little things. You're not so pissed off that Gabe Davis blew your 14-game parlay when you realized some guy in Normandy could have blown your 15th limb off. Just something to enjoy. There are 2 on Netflix where World War II is remastered in color, so I definitely suggest you guys check those out. Man, a comedy podcast focusing on World War II casualties is probably not the best way to elicit some laughs, but as you're in this lingering period before the New Year's, or even it could be New Year's, it could be any day, it's definitely something good to kill the time, because, you know, ever since the pandemic, a lot of you people out there, most people out there, now me, I've been doing these scenes. You can scroll back on my YouTube. You can watch the scenes where I'm interacting with other actors and I'm talking to them, and it's all on a green screen. I'm talking to nobody in the room. It's a skill that I had to work on for years. It's not easy to do that. You know, you're listening to somebody, and when you listen to somebody, there's all these little things. What did he just say? And you have all this little inner monologue going on. That's something that I had to do years to learn. All these Gen Z schizophrenic freaks who are holed up in a room for the majority of the pandemic, they all have this built into them now because they're all maniacs. Like, you ever seen The Shining with Jack Nicholson, and being there in obscurity, just away from everybody, starts to get to him, and then whatever it is that lives in the house takes him over, and he's at that bar talking to an imaginary person called Lloyd.
Hi, Lloyd.
Looks down the bar. Little slow tonight, isn't it, eh, Lloyd? And he starts talking to him, gives that classic maniacal laugh. A little slow tonight, isn't it, eh, Lloyd?
Yes, it is, Mr. Torrance.
And the way he talks to Lloyd is basically, that represents all of these TikTokers' breaking down about Lord knows what. They're talking no different than Jack Nicholson, talking to Lloyd. That's how they're speaking and crying about God knows what, the latest thing that has sent them into a frenzy.
I will never be planning a birthday party or party for anyone ever again. I am planning my boyfriend's 30th birthday, and I got a huge rental property with pickleball courts, and it's going to have a taco caterer, and it's so perfect. It has everything he loves. His parents helped me pitch in for it. And it's going to be so nice, and he's going to love it. Oh gosh, none of his friends are coming. I invited about 20 of them, and none of them can make it. And it's heartbreaking, it's disappointing, and I don't have the heart to tell him that, and I wanted this to be so special.
You have this girl right here who is astounded, fully astounded, that her boyfriend's friends, a grand total of 0 of them, are showing up to a surprise party, a birthday party, something like that. And she might be surprised, but I've already told you how this works. Any guys out there, if you're on online dating or anything like that, and a girl agrees to go out with you, oh yeah, I'll go out with you Wednesday night. Her agreeing to the date, that is the new date. They'll never go with you. Nobody's ever doing anything at all anymore. That's just the weird society we live in now. So your enjoyment of the date is knowing that there was a point where she said yes, because you're never going to go out with her. Friends who have known each other for years, as this video illustrates, but I already knew this beforehand. People who I know from years ago would never miss something. They'd all be at the party. None of them, it would be absurd for somebody not to show up. Those same group of people, now all of them wouldn't show up. So it's not just this person. All my friends would never come to something. My good friends are never coming to something that I'm inviting them to unless it's absolutely vital. It's going to get to a point, I promise you, all you people out there. Most of you are probably experiencing this. Some of you haven't already. Your good friends, you're only going to see them for weddings and funerals. And then after everybody gets married, it's only going to be funerals. That's what friends are here in 2023. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I've already told you that I used to be a scumbag decades ago. I'm the same guy. It's the walls around me that have shifted. Now, a guy who just shows up to me showing up to your birthday party, a scumbag showing up to your birthday party. Oh, he's a great guy. He came. He simply came to someone's birthday. Means that somebody's a good guy now. And that's just where we're at now. And this is why this is turning everyone in to Nicholson in The Shining. And I feel bad for this girl somewhat, only because she never listened to me in the first place, because I would have told her absolutely nobody's going. And basically what I'm trying to say is they're all like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, and if you can show them what Jack Nicholson looked like at the end of The Shining, if you just Google Jack Nicholson, end of The Shining, you should see how he ended up. And I wouldn't be so surprised if a similar fate was waiting for all you tickers and talkers out there. That would be it. That's so funny. I mean, there has to be some legendary memes with that, but not as legendary as this 𝙘𝙤𝙩𝙛 meme that has appeared in these last couple of weeks. I don't know what that's from, but it is fascinating to me. I mentioned that the not Kevin Hart, it's from King of Queens is James. Kevin James, did I forget his name? But there's that meme of him from King of Queens where he's just kind of like in the kitchen or something, and he's got his hands and he's making that like semi-embarrassed face. And now this 𝙘𝙤𝙩𝙛, it's amazing where these memes kind of spring up from, and and there he is. Like that picture, I think I mentioned this in one of the previous podcasts, that picture's been around for decades, literally decades, was never a meme. And now springs up out of nowhere. Everyone under the sun's using it. The 𝙘𝙤𝙩𝙛 one, that's the latest one. I don't know. What is that from? I'm assuming that's a screenshot from it. It is pretty... All right, I'm not going to lie. It is pretty hilarious. I'm coming around to memes. You know, my problem with memes has always been it allows unfunny people to be funny. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to start a war That will start World War III. You're going against memes, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be on the virtual beaches of Normandy trying to defend myself against the rest of you. All right, that's what I got for you here on this episode of the You're Still Here podcast. Have a Merry Sniffmas and a Happy New Year and all that stuff. You don't have to have a new resolution. You want a New Year's resolution? It's going to be real easy to do. Subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Enjoy more episodes of the You're Still Here podcast. I also have my NHL and NFL videos, which are coming to this channel. They're all going to be on the channel starting, if not yesterday, today. This stuff is for you guys to just kick back. You're on your way to work. Maybe you had a rough week with the sports bets and you just need to hear some nonsense. Well, I bring the nonsense along, I don't know, with some additional nonsense. It's a full assortment of sniffs, nonsense, sniffs, and off we go. I'll be back with you, let's say in, I don't know, what would you say, a few weeks? You guys know the deal. As NFL tapers down and that goes away, I'll be able to do more of these podcasts because that just leaves me with hockey then. Hockey, comedy, hockey. And I am looking to get back on the comedy circuit. I will reach out to a couple places, let them know I'm available, see if they want to bring me in. Haven't done it in a little while. If you guys are out there in some cities and enough of you want me to come to your area, I could reach out to the comedy clubs, because if I guarantee them a certain amount of people will be coming, I'm open to it. Let's just get to the end of the NFL season. I'm sure you want me to be focused on that as well. But thank you guys for coming back. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I will be back with you next time. I will talk to you then. Take it easy.